Hello and welcome to another episode. So I was thinking long and hard. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what can I talk about now because at the time of this recording, like probably last week's or next week's, depending on which way I kind of release the episodes, we are in a lockdown. It's August. This will be out September. So chances are probably still be in lockdown. And the current feeling that everyone is sort of feeling and the words that people are using that are in my Facebook community group, the Woo Food, and the discussions that I just have in DMs with people, mind you, like I'm so open to DMs, so please feel free to reach out and connect there on Instagram at Rosano's Casa, is just like stress. It's stressful. Cooking is stressful at the moment. And I have to say that it is a little bit stressful for me too at the moment because, a million fucking snack plates a day, plus dinner, lunch, this person doesn't like this one wants this. And I'm just like, far out. I am done. I quit. I want to walk out, but I got nowhere to walk out to. So I thought I would do a little podcast episode on maybe some tips here and there as to how to reduce, stress around mealtime. And I'm going to say probably the usual shit that you're probably sick of hearing me say, and it is meal planning. I know that. Double batching, guys, and a lot of you I know meal plan and batch cook, but also just be kind to yourselves and do dishes and recipes that you know how to make and how to cook at the back of your hand, rather than, trying to overcomplicate things, make things fancy, and try new recipes that end up having a multitude of dishes lying around everywhere that take forever to freaking wash up. And by the time you finish washing up, then your kids are asking you for another snack or treat. I mean, is it only my children? Yeah, right. So that's been a big thing for me. And, leftovers are great. Popping things in the freezer. I will probably say the thing that I have kind of done more so, because I like to keep things at hand, is definitely stocking up. And when I say stocking up, I don't mean go and raid the whole fucking shelf at the supermarket of these goods. I just mean having one or two tins on standby, in your pantry, but of like, pasta, rice, tin beans, tin lentils, dry spices, dry herbs, because I get chicken stock cubes. Like, you don't necessarily need to get chicken stock if you don't make your own, but or the chicken stock in a liquid form. Just have the cubes. Keep things that don't expire, and have them on standby. And the things that you can create are amazing. One thing that I usually do, I always have like a little bit of mince in the freezer as well. My go-to thing, and I share this recipe inside the free Facebook community group, the Woo Food, is my spice minced rice. That is a freaking banger of a dish. It is a great side dish. I mean, my kids could just eat a bowl of that alone and be so content. And, it's easy. We have some dry spices. I've got the whole recipe inside the group, rice. There's sometimes some, if you have the egg pasta, I crush it up. That's toasted and popped in there as well. Some mince meat, and it is brilliant. Sometimes I'll stir in some leftover charcoal chicken or roast chicken, depending if I have it. For us, I will definitely bake some side. I mean, the recipe comes with roast cauliflower as well, with some beautiful cumin and smoked paprika on, and then squeeze a little bit of lime over the top, as well as a dollop of natural Greek yogurt that sometimes I mix through some garlic. It sounds like a lot, but what I'm trying to say is that having those foundation or those pantry staples on standby, you can make an amazing dish that is quick, that is easy, that is a crowd pleaser. And you can definitely serve it up as it is. You can definitely serve it up alongside some leftovers, especially if you have veggies or some protein or whatever that you're like, I kind of want to have it, but it's just boring on its own. What can I serve up with it? Another thing that I love to do is with beans, cannellini beans, butter beans. I always have like a tin on standby. They are so underrated. I love them. My kids don't go crazy for beans, I have to say. So whatever. But this is the beauty. I usually cook a dish and I'll take elements out for them. That's a reality. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say that my kids eat fancy food. They're still super little. And I know that it is just a phase. I know that it's normal. I don't push them. I don't want to, create any negative relationship with food. I've let go a lot. I used to really stress about meal times and them not eating enough or eating the right kind of, amount or food intake of certain groups. And I'm just like, you know what? There's going to come a point where they're going to just eat whatever, and they're going to have their things that they like and not like. Disclaimer, I hate fucking peas. All my friends, they should be illegal. You will never catch a pea in any of my recipes. So if you're a pea lover, do not expect great pea recipes from me. So back to beans, cannellini or butter beans. I love to use, they're so versatile for soups, for minestrones, for stews. So sometimes like if I'll stew some like potatoes, if there's leek or onion, saute that with garlic, put some beans in, potatoes, like I said, a little bit of stock or water with a stock cube dissolved in it. And then sometimes I'll even braise some chicken with it, sausages, whatever, right? That is a hearty dish in itself. Dried herbs should always be stocked up. Italian herbs, I love tarragon. Tarragon is underrated. It is like a sort of like not anisette, but it does kind of throw off a little bit of that. I mean, it says licorice, but for me, I don't taste that. But anyway, tarragon, smoked paprika, Hungarian paprika, cayenne pepper for a bit of a bite if you like to sprinkle that afterwards. Dried mint, obviously I said Italian herbs, dried dill. What else is it? I think cumin's definitely something. Obviously, if you have all the Indian stuff as well, you can definitely transform a dish by having dried spices and herbs in your pantry. Back to beans as well. So sometimes I'll also put like a jar of passata with the beans and some slow cut beef. So I prefer gravy beef over chuck, but some people love chuck. So I'll put that into the slow cooker with some bay leaves, beautiful aroma, bay leaves, some dried herbs or some fresh herbs, whatever you have, right? And let that cook in the slow cooker. The kids will love the meat, especially in a tomato casserole sauce base. I love it with the beans. Serve it up with rice or couscous. Or that's the other thing. I always have, couscous and, pearl couscous, the fine couscous. Pasta could be just easily whipped up with some olive oil, garlic, some fresh or dry herbs, some chili, and it just makes a beautiful, beautiful dish. As well as beans, I sometimes, as a quote unquote snack, I will drain them, rinse them, mush them roughly with a fork with some parsley, some garlic, some lemon juice, a bit of chili if that's your thing. If it's not, doesn't matter. And that makes a beautiful dip or a topping on some bread, or to go alongside with some tuna in a salad, whatever it may be, right? You could also braise beans with some leeks and spinach and silver beet. It's endless. Another tip that I will say with herbs as well, fresh herbs, if they're looking a little bit limp and they're on the way out, I chop them and put them into an airtight container and into the freezer. So then I've got them ready to go to add into a soup or a stew, because sometimes parsley's, I've just run out, and that saves me so much. So it's just little things like that I think that when we go to our pantry and we have those staples, things that don't expire, don't buy too much of it, because I feel like when you buy too much of it, you just get sick of eating or cooking the same things. But just buy enough that when you go to your pantry and you do your meal plan, or you're thinking of like, what the hell can I cook? There's things and elements that you can take out and incorporate into a meal or a side dish or whatever it may be that will transform a dish and make it really easy and simplify, and just reduce the stress around, what to cook and thinking and making things fancy. A lot of the times I think we go to recipes now and we save them and they're all fun and great, but it can also increase the stress levels in regards to like not having a lot of the ingredients and having to go out and get it, and then reading the recipe, and then you're just like, oh my God, there's like 500 pots and pans to just making this one pasta dish. How the hell did this happen? That just adds more stress to it. Or also that misconception as well nowadays that we have to make these, restaurant quality dishes, where in actual fact, it's just like, sometimes if we're just in that moment where we just pull things out and just tweak it and just let us be in that flow, an amazing dish is created. And that's just using your intuition. And that's what I'm all about. And I know that if you're listening to this podcast, that you are most likely an intuitive cook. And sometimes when we get into that overthinking, that's just us doubting ourselves, So just free flow it, taste as you go. It's really important to taste as you go, make adjustments, tweak, and keep a little notebook of your own dishes that you created, so that in future, when you are like, what the hell, you're feeling the stress and the overwhelm, you can just go to that little notebook and flick through and be like, oh my gosh, do you know the amount of times, I think in my subscription, my monthly Cucina subscription, where I give you recipes, it just takes all that thinking and overwhelm and just gives you that inspiration, right? In one stop, like whatever, one-stop shop sort of thing. A lot of the dishes in there are taken out of my own personal, they're all my personal cooking, all my cooking recipes. And some things that I've put in there, like I made 4 years ago and I just forgot about it. But had I not write it down and document it, obviously I go back and I make adjustments and tweak and properly measure shit. Cause like who even measures, right? When it's your own recipe, you just kind of like, yeah, I'll just free pour this and free measure things. But yeah, I've gone back to it. And had I not write it down in my own notebook, cookbook, whatever it is, and mind you, my cookbook, it's not a fancy cookbook. It's literally an A4, notebook. It's nothing fancy at all. But it's gold. And had I not write it in there, I wouldn't be able to go back and be like, oh my gosh, I love that dish. I haven't had an opportunity to make again. I'm going to do it again. This time, obviously measure and put it into the subscription for all you guys. So there's some tips, very scattered. I kind of did a free flow conversation here because it is just one of those days. And I love doing these podcast episodes and I didn't want to overthink it. And I just wanted to do something that was very, timely and appropriate for now. And so something that you can take away and implement into your week and your day. So stock up on that pantry. Don't get all, tied up into your own knickers about like what it is and stressed out about dinner. Keep shit simple. Don't worry about like what everyone else is cooking. I know sometimes even people look at me and they're like, Marilyn, like it's so fucking fancy. But, that's my job. That's my career. Of course, it's going to look the way that it is. And I want it to be appealing for you guys because let's be honest, if I plated it up a lot of the times, like I generally would, you wouldn't want to freaking, you wouldn't want to make it again. Let's be honest. So, and they say, you eat with your eyes. So anyway, hope this episode inspired you. I would love for you to, obviously, I always say, join my free Facebook community group, The Will Win Food. I would love for you to share any of your recipes in there because lots of women go in there and they seek inspiration and they give lots of ideas and recipes, which I love. If there's any questions or any remakes, DM me on the grams at rosano.casa. Until next week, ciao.